guys. Today we're talking to Gillian Salerno-Rebic. She is incredible, and I'm not just gassing her up right now. I really believe that in life I have created the things that I have needed as an artist and as a person. When I created a theater, it's because I needed a space to be a theater artist that felt safe for me. When I created a practice, when I created my TikTok, it was all these things that I needed. I didn't see the spaces, so I created them for myself. And I really think I had Jillian on because I needed her wisdom. As a 30 something, I am really feeling the pull between feeling really accomplished and confident and comfortable in where my life is, and then also being fearful that I'm going to get stagnant, that I'm going to get comfortable, that I'm going to get too settled, that I'm not going to continue to pivot. I'm not going to continue to forge new paths for myself. And being able to talk to Jillian, I was so reminded that the fear is not worth it, that the way to combat that fear is to take action. And that can look like Jillian's story, which I'll give you a little hint, was packing up all of her things, taking a sabbatical, traveling all over the world. And yes, she breaks that down for you. It's not as hard or as scary as one may think. But she also reinvents pieces in herself, which is so relatable and so attainable for all of us. So I am thrilled to introduce my conversation with Jillian, and I hope you leave listening to her just as inspired and confident in your journey as I did. Hi, Jillian.
Hi, Emily.
How old are you?
I am 34, knocking on the door of 35.
I think that's how I'm gonna start everything from now on. Is how old are you? Jillian saved my life online because I posted a TikTok where I said I didn't get the code, and then Jillian's like, "Hey, what's your budget? Do you want in?"
The code for what?
Taylor Swift.
Yes.
Yeah, duh. For Taylor Swift in Dallas.
We made it happen. You were my 6 of 6 tickets.
I will never forget that day because you texted me, but my clients, some of them canceled completely because they were like, we have to be in the queue, we have to be ready to go. And some of my clients carried their phone with them out on a walker in the office, and they were like,
hysterical.
Were you working at that time?
I was at my office in Las Colinas when I lived here in Dallas, and we had an important guest in that day, and they were speaking, and I was like, good to see you. I can't be here right now.
Gillian, you have pivoted in your careers like multiple times. Yes. You travel all over the world with strangers. You are a fangirl for Taylor Swift, and you're 34 years old. Like, you check all of the boxes. Yes. Your background in theater.
Yeah.
Okay, we have a lot to get into. Gillian, I am curious. I have recently got into my fangirl era. That I've always been a fan of Taylor Swift, but like fangirl era for that. I'm reading all of these fantasy books. Fangirl for that. Have you always been a fangirl?
All the things. I definitely did join a live journal community in high school to cosplay live action role play on live journal in a Harry Potter-esque world.
What house were you in?
So the thing was, you had to be a canon character, so someone from the book, from the movies first, before you could be a non-canon character. And by the time I got there, all the good characters were taken. So Fred was taken, George was taken, Harry, Ron, Hermione, all the good ones were taken. And I was like, who's still available? I went with the inobvious choice of Argus Filch, Mr. Filch, and his cat, Mrs. Norris. So that's who I was cosplaying from the books.
This is brilliant. Yes. Lore and core that I didn't know that I needed.
Yeah, well, we're getting real personal, real back to the basics here today.
So one could say you have been a nerdy storyteller fandom
for a very long time.
For a very long time.
Yes.
I just got into it in my 30s, and I think it's because my life I've become more of myself, like going back to what I was really into when I was older. I feel like I took a break, and then I've come back to it.
Did you not have like people you could share it with when you were a kid?
That's a great question, which, by the way, I saw on an interview that you did that you love asking people questions so that you can just be the listener. And I feel like you just tricked me into that.
Whose podcast is it now?
No, I had probably like my family, and then when Twilight became like mainstream, sure. But you're right, like no, I probably didn't have anyone, and now I do.
Yeah, so I had like a very tight friend group in like late middle school into high school. We had like a book club. Like that was the thing that we did on Friday nights, was have our book club and go to the movies and all that. So like when I tell people my kind of story of like how I became a storyteller, I say when I was 13, I read Lord of the Rings and it changed my life.
Tell me about did that how you got into theater? You were like, I'm a reader, I'm a storyteller.
Yeah, so it was actually film originally. So the idea of being able to take words off of a page and then put them onto a screen and to have people's imaginations kind of run wild. The idea of getting to build a world was exciting to me.
Were you the bossy friend who was like, do this, or
Um,
when you're making videos? I was.
Not necessarily like the bossy friend, but I've always naturally either gotten put into, voted into, or just like had to take up the mantle of like project leader.
You were in a job and then you got let go.
Yes.
And that was pretty sudden.
Yes.
Walk me through that moment of being like, I'm a leader, I'm good at my job, I'm a creative person, I'm innovative, and then being kind of blindsided with you no longer have a job.
Yeah. The line of work that I was in, I was consulting generally, is a pretty ruthless world. However, you think that if you have a certain skill set, you're kind of bringing things to the table, you are demonstrating by doing that it's going to all kind of work out, and sometimes the economy just isn't going your way. So that moment was, I want to say I wasn't surprised, but I was surprised to see a meeting put on my calendar 15 minutes before the meeting, and I was like, that's never a good thing. I've seen that before, not for myself, but I know that that is the indicator that something is wrong. But even then, I was in denial. And and then even when my boss told me, he didn't want to fire me, he I asked him, I was like, am I not getting a bonus then? Is that not happening?
I'm not getting extra money?
Yeah, so it's like, I'm not getting my bonus this year, I'm just getting fired. And then
Great.
I got off the phone, had a quick cry, and then honestly felt pretty okay.
You said that you felt like like you were relieved of your job. You feel relief. And that's, when I'm working with people that are still in careers, or maybe not even careers, but they're just trying something out, and they're like, they feel that in their gut that it's time to go. I want to go. This is not what I want to be doing. That's not necessarily what you were feeling.
Oh, that's what I was absolutely
Oh, you were feeling, okay,
yeah,
great.
Yeah.
They're feeling that, but they're like, whether it is financial or it is that like limiting thought of there is actually like, I don't have enough qualifications to do anything different. The job market's crap. Like I'm not going to get hired. They don't leave that job to feel that relief. And were you ever going to quit? Like, were you in that fear place, or were you like, I'm going to wait for my bonus?
Yeah, I was definitely going to wait for my bonus. Waited too long. No, I think most of last year, really since I'd come back from my sabbatical, it was an incredibly trying year. I think the economy was just like, will it or won't it last year, and we're still kind of in that place. It's been a dramatic time to be in corporate America, and I think like I watched friends of mine just like fall off because like they were not performing how they should or whatever. I would say 90 to 95% of people I know right now that are working in corporate America are not happy, that I personally know. And then I had other people reach out to me when I was like posting on LinkedIn this last week and telling people I was leaving the company, that they were like, I can't believe that you're gone, but I also can't believe that I'm still here and I'm hanging on, because I'm not hanging on right now. What would it have taken for me to leave? I mean, for all of the like risky and adventurous things I do, I'm very risk adverse in my own career. And this season in my life has really forced me to a more riskier place. Like I am investing in my business right now. I am looking for another job as well. I'm trying to decide if that's still what I want to do. And I don't know if I ever would have gotten the guts to do it, because the comfort and stability is very compelling.
Well, right. You can empathize with, we are not in like the best of times
Yeah.
right now. So
Yeah.
why would I say I'm going to leave this
Yeah.
job that like pays me pretty well? I have
Yeah.
health insurance.
I think the biggest regret I had in the last year was not living like I wanted, or like I could have been unemployed. Like if I had been saving more, not that I wasn't saving, but if I've been saving like I was actually going to have like an undetermined amount of time off, I would feel a lot better than I do right now. And I feel okay, but I wish like that hindsight is so 2020.
It's so 2020. So like for somebody who wants to maybe like leave their job, you're saying
Mhm.
like get that 6 months
Yeah,
emergency
pretend like you're already
fund. Yeah.
unemployed right now for the next 6 months and spend like that and then leave your job. Companies don't owe you anything and you don't owe them anything.
That is something that I work for myself now, but I think I held on to things too long because I thought I owe them something. They were really generous by giving me this job. No,
No.
what's the saying? Like they'll have your job posting before they'll have your obituary
Oh,
out. Like,
absolutely. Yes. Yes.
clarifying.
Yes.
So you did go on a sabbatical, and I thought that
Mhm.
was so cool because I didn't know anybody in their 30s who was like, I'm going on a sabbatical from work. How did you know that you wanted to take time off?
Yeah. So it was a less public benefit at my company, and it was something that was kind of just like in the, I don't know, rules and regulations of like what do they call them? Corporate policies. They were in our corporate policies. And it was every 3 years of service, you are allowed to take 3 months of unpaid leave, but job protected. So that meant that you didn't have to come back to a project. You didn't have to, know what you were going to do next, essentially. But you weren't paid. You had to pay for your own health insurance on that leave. But yeah, I mean, essentially, I was like, who wouldn't take this? So I had saved for that, and decided it was. I decided before the COVID,
Yeah.
before the pandemic. I decided before the pandemic to take this leave, and I knew that it would have been summer of 2021 when I had wanted to take it. That did not happen because things were still a little dicey.
Yeah.
But when 2020 happened and I watched every massive trip that I had planned for that year like get taken away from me, it felt very personal because I was just kind of feeling like I was finding my own footing. I was 30, turning 31 that year, and I just felt like in charge of my own life again. So got very frustrated by being stuck, but also learned a lot about the kind of routine that I need to support myself for my mental health, my physical health. Got to really deepen my friendships locally. Got to hang out with you on the patio a couple times.
I know. I was going to find a way to wrap this back
Yeah.
in. Jillian and I met outside on her patio, and she had gifted me this naked, it was a cherry naked palette. We both got one, and we did our makeup out on the front porch, and it was glorious.
Cute. It was very cute.
It was really cute, and I really appreciate it because I am very risk averse when it comes to making friends and feel very uncomfortable and awkward. And it was just so nice. You're like, do you want to just come over and do makeup?
Yeah.
Absolutely, I do. And it was wonderful. So at that point, that was 2021.
So in March of 2021, I was vaccinated. I had put everything I owned in storage except what would fit in my car. And I spent the next 9 months on a road trip around the U.S., visiting friends, seeing new places I'd never been before, visiting a lot of national parks, taking a lot of photos. Made it to Iceland with a friend, and knew that the following year I'd be able to take my sabbatical because things were kind of getting back to a balance.
So you did this road trip, but you were still like work from home, so you could do it anywhere?
Yeah. And so in 2022, when I took the sabbatical in the summer, I decided that 2022 was my international year. It was also, I was turning 33 that year. It was like, it's my Jesus year. We're going big.
Yeah, absolutely.
And my mom was like, what's a Jesus year? I'm like, 33.
33. Anything could happen after that.
Anything could happen.
I could be out of here.
So she did not appreciate that joke. But it felt like a significant year for me. So I spent 3.5 months in South America working remote in Chile and Peru, and had an incredible time. I felt like that was like one lifetime. And then I came back for a couple weeks, kind of regrouped and reshuffled my stuff, and then packed up for a 100-day sabbatical in Europe. And I went to 10 countries. I spent about 40 of those days in Italy, re-immersing myself in the Italian language because I minored in Italian in college. And it's something that being able to speak another language and articulate myself in another language makes me feel more like myself. I don't.
Cool, weird.
Yeah.
I wonder why.
I wonder why too, but it is something that just intrinsically feels like I am doing the right thing. And when you it's almost like a flow state thing, like you just feel like you're where you're supposed to be, doing what you're supposed to be doing, and that everything is right with the world.
I'm kind of flabbergasted by that because I think that, well, a couple things are coming to mind. One, being in that flow state or feeling so much like myself is what people are searching for. Like, I feel like they're on the quest to figure that out. So what I'm almost hearing from you is like, you just were like, I'm going to try a bunch of things and experience a lot of life.
Mm-hmm.
And then in those myriad experiences, found that language was something that helped you.
Language for sure.
And travel.
Yeah, travel. Being able to express myself creatively. So, for a while that was film, then theater. I did stand-up comedy for a little bit, went back to sewing during lockdown, and then finally picked up the camera in 2020 and realized it was kind of the blend of everything I love about the immediacy of theater and the kind of permanence of film and things like that.
You've always been a creative person then?
Yes.
What do you say because I feel like I talk to people a lot who would say they're not creative. Would you agree that is like there are people who are and who are not?
I thought like yes and no and yes. Or maybe no and yes and yes. I don't know. I think there are people that are intrinsically creative. I think we all have creativity in us. And I think people think about paint and writing and music, and like things that are very much like you practice a lot at, but you don't have to be proficient to be creative. I think Taylor Swift gave everyone a perfect representation of creativity last year in friendship bracelets. That's creativity. That for me is doing something creative, something by anything with your hands. Cooking is creative.
I have my vision boarding, but like collage is creative and it doesn't require any sort of skill set. You haven't read the book that I was referencing off camera, but it is called The Midnight Library. And it's this idea that this woman gets to experience all of the lives she never led. And normally when I'm interviewing people and it's like, if you could go back and do it differently, everybody says no. But I think I'm going to ask it this way. If you could choose to, like, in a fantasy world, live out a lifetime that you aren't currently living out, what would it be?
I think it's a two-part answer. So thing one is that I would encourage anyone that is under the age of 28 to look at opportunities in other countries for work visas to travel, because it is much easier to do that when you're under the age of 28, sometimes under the age of 30, and to get to experience the world and kind of get, paid or room and board to do it. I regret never knowing about that because no one ever told me. That being said, a life that I think could be fun to live out is to be a sheep farmer in New Zealand who knits their own sweaters.
Have you been to New Zealand?
Not yet, and I'm afraid that when I go, I will never want to leave.
You're done. Yeah. You're there. You'll be the sheep farmer.
Yes, I will live out my Lord of the Rings dreams and then have sheep.
Absolutely. I see you in wellies. I see you with a sheep dog running around.
Yeah.
Okay, I love this life for you. I don't know if I have one that I haven't led. The first thing that came to mind shockingly was, what if I had just gotten married at like 20 and had 4 kids by now?
Ooh, girl, I could have done that too.
You know what I mean? It's like, what would have happened? Because in my mind, it's like, dodged a bullet.
Yeah.
But I am kind of curious because that is not the life. Like anything else I can imagine, I could probably rope into my current experience. But I can't go back and have 4 kids at 20.
No.
You would do it too?
I don't know if I would do it, but I could. That could have happened to me.
I was going to, in my mind, be living in New Hampshire, like on a farm with this man who I had known for 3 months.
Oh.
And I was like, I'm going to
Well.
just like anything else I wanted to do, no theater, nothing. I'm just going to go be a little farmer in New Hampshire.
Fair. Yeah.
Weird.
I would have been in whatever the New Jersey, New York area, hopefully doing theater. But yeah, probably married with kids. And I don't know if that's the life I would have actually wanted to lead.
I don't know if that's what I want to. Yeah. It's the life I never led, but that's okay. After hearing this much about you, one would say you are probably a high achiever or an overachiever. Would you agree?
Accurate.
That's okay. We
It's
love
okay.
that. We love that. How do you find balance, or how do you not find balance, or is
Yeah.
balance even something you're interested in when it comes to experiencing career and life?
Sure. Yeah. I do have a lot of balance these days, and I think one of the first things I learned how to do in my mid-20s was say no. Really, no to doing free theater. I was like, I should be getting paid for the things that I'm doing in the adult world.
Yeah.
So that was a good early lesson to learn. And then, you know, the imbalance is a balance. My job was extremely stressful for a lot of years, and you would tend to find that balance in that when you didn't have a demanding client or a project or whatever, you would take your time back. Sometimes you're working 60 hours a week for 8 weeks straight, but then I have 8 weeks of nothing, so I'll work 20 hours a week instead, get my balance. But I also think it's important just to draw a hard line sometimes and treat yourself to whatever it is you need, whether it's Netflix or a nice meal or anything like that.
Why do you think people don't give themselves time or balance, or think that they can't? More, it's like they think that. Why do people think that they can't?
Yeah. I mean that is America.
Yeah.
That is America.
Wah, wah,
This is America.
wah.
And it sucks. It absolutely sucks. I always would counsel coworkers, mentees, friends even to be selfish. And I think like I saw a TikTok last week that said you like time flies, but you're the pilot.
Hmm.
And I'm like, that's stupid, but yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Like it is so trite, but it makes sense. Like you get to choose your direction, your speed, what kind of in-flight snacks you get to have, who you're taking with you. So yeah, it works. And I think why do we not let ourselves slow down, and why do we not treat ourselves right? I think because you think if you're working harder, you're going to get to the thing faster or more of the thing, more money, more whatever, fame, more likes. But if you're not enjoying yourself, it's okay. Like don't do that. You should enjoy your life.
Did you learn any of this the hard way?
I think I learned it all the hard way.
Is there like a rock bottom moment for you?
Yeah, I had a pretty rock bottom moment last May, June. I was on a project, the second or third in a series of really demanding clients, very mean people. I was verbally abused in meetings in front of a lot of people and didn't know what to do about it, because if you state a boundary or whatever, anything like sass back, you're getting fired.
Right.
So I didn't, but I had to sit with it and had to kind of finish working for them for another month. And I was completely destroyed. But in that kind of month or two of taking my time back, I started to learn how to develop film. I started to strategize my photography business and started to realize that there were other things outside of me that I had not been tending to, that I had let go of, that I had missed as a part of myself, that I had not seen in years. So really I kind of like hit rock bottom, but I sprung out pretty quick. And I think it's because of all the work I'd done on myself in prior years.
Let's talk about your photography business.
Okay.
Had you ever worked for yourself before? Like kind of as a theater artist, we kind of
Yeah.
contracty type work,
Yeah.
but have you had a business before this one?
No. But I basically used what I'd done in theater as the like, I can have my own business. That is the same thing. Working for yourself as a 1099 employee for a theater company is the same as having your own business, because you are the business, you are the service, the goods, the sole proprietor of the talent that you have.
That's what people all the time are like, how did you have a full private practice? And I said, a decade as a theater artist is what prepared me. I already knew this was an easy transition. So similarly, you were like, I know how this is going to work. Who was the first people you took pictures of? Who were the first people you took pictures of?
A couple friends here in Dallas, and a couple friends in Austin, but the ones here in Dallas, I think they were the formal first shoot. They'd gotten engaged earlier last year, wanted to do an engagement shoot. I really enjoy home engagement photo shoots because you're already comfortable in your environment.
Yeah.
It's your stuff. I get to come in and say, your space is beautiful. Let me show you how beautiful it is.
Yes.
And they also happened to not have filled their pool last summer. And I was like, can we do a photo shoot at your empty pool?
Sick.
And it was one of the coolest things I think any of us had ever done. So
you mentioned earlier that photography was this really beautiful mix of what can be preserved forever through like film work and then also like capturing that moment, that emotion that happens in theater, and it's live, like you are there doing it live with the people. Is there anything about photography that has surprised you about yourself? I'm thinking about, I got back into ceramics and I had done ceramics before. Like I know how to do ceramics. I've done it before, but something about coming to it now, I have learned so much from the clay. And I think a big one was, I do not like to be in process. Like I really hate it. And I like thought that cause I'm always like, just trust the process. This is what art is. That's what therapy is. And then it was so confronting. Like I hate this process. I hate it. And I have to show up and be in this process every single day. So there's just something about what my art form has been teaching me about myself, that there's still lessons to be learned, and like
absolutely
being patient. Yeah.
Okay. What I've learned actually is really from the business side of things. And that is that I'm not trying to be a high achiever right now. I'm not trying to make this my full-time job in the next year. It's something that I want to very methodically and thoughtfully build up over a handful of years into something that is sustainable, has longevity, has a good reputation. And that's definitely not the case for a lot of things that I've done in my life. I have gone all in and gotten disappointed and frustrated very quickly. And I think a lot of the time that I spent slowing down and being told that my work isn't everything by people that I encountered in the world has really set me up to sit down and like slowly plink away at the little things that make a good business run smoothly. What I learned in getting fired from my job is that my concentration has come back. I was so stressed out. I was so burnt out that I was using Instagram and TikTok to give me dopamine hits between tasks because I couldn't focus for more than 5 minutes. I'd be on a call, I'd get off a call, be trying to write a document, whatever. Could not focus. I would need constant like distraction to then try and keep me focused.
Yes.
And it was completely counterintuitive to what concentration and focus actually is. And the longer I've been away from this job, my last job, the more concentration I have, the more focus I have, the more drive I have, the more creativity I have.
I think that's really, really, really important to mention. My last guest, Sarah, would definitely agree with you. Your nervous system was dysregulated. Yeah. So all of these people who are like, well, I think I have maybe ADHD. I think there's room for it being so underdiagnosed and misdiagnosed when it comes to women. And is it ADHD, or are you so burnt out because you're operating at this level that you don't have access to creativity, curiosity, discipline, focus?
Yeah.
motivation.
My big shtick at my company was the kind of work that I do with customer experience. You need to slow down to understand people, to be curious, to be kind of lost in the weeds of like what is going on and make sense of disparate stories and experiences in order to speed up and strategically change directions at companies. But no one wants to slow down in corporate America.
I don't think anyone wants to slow down
No.
ever, because I don't believe this, but the thought will come through like, I'm running out of time.
Yeah.
Do you think that is an American
Yes.
thinking
Yeah.
of like, we're running out of time, our 30s and
Yeah.
40s, and then we really want to retire by 55, like that we need to speed up?
I read a book last year and it changed my perspective entirely on it. It's called 4,000 Weeks.
Okay.
There's a subtitle to it, but the premise, the actuality is that 4,000 weeks is 80 years. That's the average lifespan. That's how much time we have. So, sure, yes.
Or,
yeah. And I think like when a celebrity passes and they're like, so and so dies at 96, I'm like, they almost got an extra 2,000 weeks. That's really exciting. And I think like I've kind of chunked my life now into the idea of like, okay, I'm in the latter half of my second 2,000 weeks, but I feel like I filled it up so well even now, and I still have 6 more years of that.
I love the thousands because that makes it seem like you have so much time.
Yeah.
We have so much time.
Yeah.
If you have 1,000 weeks,
Yeah.
okay.
It's actually a very comforting book to read.
I'm going to add it to the show notes. What's it called again?
4,000 Weeks.
4,000 weeks. I want to live to be 100.
It's an extra 1,000 weeks.
Do you want to live to be 100?
Be cool. I think I would like 111, like Bilbo.
Bringing it back. Do you ever feel lonely in your 30s?
At times. Moving to a new city last year was incredibly challenging. I had a lot of co-workers who I used to work with who still live in Austin. And I thought this will be great. I know so many people there. We're going to become good friends and get to hang out and build better relationships. That didn't happen.
Oh, no.
And that's okay.
Well,
but it was very disappointing and disheartening at first. And I was confused because I had spent so much time traveling the world, making friends very quickly, and retaining good rapport with them as I moved on.
Do you feel old?
No.
Did you have an idea of like, I will feel old when I'm in my 30s or 40s? Like that is old and that's shifted? Yeah, sorry.
No, yeah, I don't think so. Like I still feel relatively 28-ish.
Nice.
And like I didn't necessarily love being 28, but that's about how old I feel. And that feels like I know what I'm doing. Mostly. I still struggle, but I feel like I have energy for things. I feel excited by new things. I feel, I don't know, like the TikTok that went around of like, I'm 34, but I'm also 30 and 25 and 20 and 16. Like I do feel that a lot.
I probably thought 30 was older, that I thought that my life would be, I assumed my life would look settled, but that's crazy to me thinking back on, because I was never the like settled type soul.
I assumed I would be married at 26 and that didn't happen. And then I assumed 30 and that didn't happen. So I stopped assuming.
Yeah. Just stop. just stop assuming. What has surprised you about being in your 30s?
That it's just as good as everyone says.
It's really good. And everyone says that.
Yeah.
Everyone does. Now people are saying like 40s are pretty good too.
I'm excited.
But 30s, they're good. You have money, or at least know how to spend it better.
Yeah.
Hopefully. Save it better. You may have a little investment. Your brain's clicked into place. Your values, like how you want to spend your time, is clarifying.
Yeah.
Some of the bullshit falls away.
Yeah. Just don't get too rigid.
I know. That's where I'm scared that I can feel it. I can feel going, I can get into what I think is comfortable here, not leaving my neighborhood, not experiencing new things.
It's hard.
It's really hard. And I try to give myself some credit because I grew up military and moving and being a theater artist who moved around. Like I didn't have this. And so this is an adventure in itself to be a little bit rooted.
Sure. It's still an adventure for me because I was uprooted for 2 years, and I am now 14 months into rooting in a new city. And that is a whole different adventure. It challenges me because there's so many things that I don't know. Like I still have to use Google Maps in a city I live in, and that makes me so angry.
Yeah. I think it's really like when I think about moving at 30, almost 2, it terrifies me. I think like how I'm so afraid of being lonely.
So what was interesting for me, why I ended up being okay moving to Austin, was I finally realized that the place you live is just the place you live. And the thing that I need in a place that I live is an airport.
That's right.
That's all I need.
Did you ever struggle with likability?
No, but something that I had to, well, no, but. Yes, and.
Yes, and no, but.
Yes, and what I learned to love saying is that I'm not for everybody.
Yeah, but we can say it, but did you feel it?
Oh, I felt it. I felt it because when someone annoyed me, I was like, oh, I'm not for you.
Oh, I'm not for you.
And whether it's not about them, it's about me. It's like, oh, I'm not for you. That's fine.
Gillian, I feel like you have no flaws. I feel like you have lived, and maybe it's because you had friends who were into fantasy with you at a young age and didn't get bullied by your own friends out of the things that you like. But I feel like when I talk to you, you have like your mindset about who you are and where you want to be feels.
I am an eternal optimist.
Yeah.
And I've always been that way. I had like a friend of like an ex-boyfriend in college one time tell me that once I become a pessimist, my life will become better. And I have sat on that like thumbtack of an insult and just like never. I will
not. Did anyone ever make you feel, well, maybe the answer is no, but I have felt, I'm also an eternal optimist, and I feel like growing up, especially in undergraduate, I was around people who would tell me like, your joy, your optimism is naive, or it's flirty, or it's silly. It's not serious for you to be optimistic. And I think optimism is not necessarily positivity, but it is the idea that there are options in this world.
Yeah, options, and that whatever state of despair, anger, sorrow, hurt, dismay, confusion you're in, it's temporary. Joy is also temporary too. Yeah. And that was a hard lesson to learn, actually, that when things are good, they're also going to be bad too.
They are. It was a TikTok I saw where they were talking about how America in particular puts high value on happiness and other countries don't. That really blew my mind. Like, what do you mean?
Also, the difference between happiness and joy is massive in my mind. Joy is something extremely special. Happiness is every day.
Where are you finding joy these days?
Photography. And I think it's building my business is something that I feel proud of and not precious about. And that's exciting. Learning how to shoot film. It's challenging. I'm not super great at it. I'm getting better. And I like that I'm not angry about how poorly I shoot sometimes.
Failure is feedback.
Yeah.
You learn something.
And I think like I am so much more okay with my flaws in all forms and fashions, artistically and otherwise, these days in my 30s than I ever have been.
Final questions.
Final answers.
Worst thing about being in your 30s?
My knees hurt.
My back when I wear high heels.
I don't wear heels anymore.
Have we gotten here? You're also a tall lady.
I am a tall lady.
Best thing about being in your 30s?
I can buy a plane ticket anywhere. I could do that in my 20s too, but I didn't. I choose to buy plane tickets to anywhere.
That's right.
Yeah.
Most confusing thing about being in your 30s?
There's still things I'm learning, and there are things that I think I should already know, and I don't.
For people who are in their 30s right now and they feel lost in the sauce, any big recommendations?
Marinate.
Ooh! sit in there and marinate. Add some spices in there if you need to.
And return to something that you used to do and see if it still clicks.
Thank you so much for talking
Thank you
to
for
me and
having
to everyone
me.
about being on your 30s. Thanks for taking me to Taylor Swift
Yeah.
and making me feel so much more sure about what the next or what this decade is going to look like. I think you're right. It's like the mindset. So thank you for that.
You're welcome.
Bye.
Bye.